I'll start with the truth that still trembles in my chest. The truth I never thought I would say out loud. I wasn't ready to let my husband go. Not even after they handed me his wedding ring, still warm from the life that had just left him. For a long time I lived like a ghost, floating, breathing, but never really here. So I wrote him letters, every morning. Same kitchen table, same chipped blue mug, same quiet house that didn't know his footsteps anymore. I told him everything, from the weather, to how lonely the nights felt, to how I still slept on my side of the bed, leaving his untouched. It was the only thing that kept me alive. And then, one morning, after almost 2 years, I opened my mailbox, and there it was. A white envelope with my name written, in handwriting that was not his. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped it. Inside was one sentence. "You're not alone. Keep writing." That was the moment my life changed, and I didn't know if it was a blessing, or the beginning of another heartbreak. Before the letters, before the grief, before the empty house, there was us. Me, a 60-year-old woman now, but once a girl with a loud laugh and too many dreams for one heart. And him, Marcus. A man who smiled like he understood every version of me, even the ones I hadn't met yet. We were young. We were stubborn. We fought hard and loved harder. We never had much, but we had each other, and that was enough. I remember the smell of Sunday mornings, biscuits, coffee, and the sound of his off-key singing drifting from the bathroom. I remember the way he'd hold my face when I cried, as if he could keep my tears from touching the ground. Life wasn't perfect. Lord knows, we had our share of storms. Money problems, his long work hours, my anger that came from places even I didn't understand back then. But he never gave up on us, not once. I didn't know how rare that was, how sacred. Not until I lost it. The day Marcus left this world was too quiet. No warning. No time to say goodbye. Just a phone call that split my life into 2 pieces. Before and after. I remember sinking to the kitchen floor, my face pressed against the cold tiles. I remember praying he'd walk through the door anyway. Just once more, even if it wasn't real. People talk about grief like it's a wave. But for me, it was an ocean endless heavy, pulling me under every single day. Family tried to help. Church tried to comfort. But nights were the worst. Nights were a punishment. That's when I began writing the letters. Not because I believed he could read them, but because I needed to pretend someone still knew my heart. Every letter began the same way. "Good morning, my love." Some days I wrote 2 pages, some days only a sentence. I wrote about the blooming magnolia in the yard, about how the sink still leaked, about how the preacher's wife kept bringing me pies I didn't have the strength to eat. I wrote because writing was breathing. Those letters were the only place I didn't have to pretend, didn't have to smile. Didn't have to hide the parts of me that were breaking. And then came the letter. The one that wasn't from me. Or from him. Just one sentence. "You're not alone. Keep writing." I should have been scared. But I wasn't. For the first time in years, I felt seen. I kept writing to Marcus, but now I started getting letters back. Not every day. Not even every week, but often enough to make my heart race when I opened the mailbox. Each one written in the same careful handwriting, always encouraging, always gentle. "Your pain is real, and you're allowed to feel it. You've survived every day you thought you couldn't. Keep talking to him. He hears you in the ways that matter. I didn't tell my family. They would have called it strange, dangerous, sad. But grief changes what normal means. These letters became my lifeline. Yet the question lingered. Who was writing to me? And why? One day, finally, a return address appeared. A small town only an hour away. A place I'd never been. For days I stared at it. Touching the envelope. Tracing the letters. Trying to find courage I wasn't sure I had. What if this person expected something from me? What if they wanted to hurt me? What if meeting them meant letting go of Marcus, and I wasn't ready? But loneliness has a way of pushing you forward. So one morning, I got in my car. Drove past the fields, past the rivers, past the towns, all the way to a little white house with peeling paint. And that's where I met her. She was an older woman, maybe a few years above me. Soft eyes, a tired smile, a cane leaning against her chair. Her name was Evelyn. She told me the truth in a trembling voice. I work at the mail sorting center. Your letters. They kept coming. And one day, I opened one by mistake. She waited for me to be angry. But I wasn't. She continued. I lost my husband, too, 15 years ago. Your words, they sounded like mine back then. I didn't want you to grieve alone the way I did. That was all. No hidden motives, no secrets. Just one woman reaching out to another, because grief recognizes grief. I visited Evelyn every week after that. We'd sit in her kitchen drinking sweet tea, talking about the men we loved, and the pieces of ourselves we lost when they left. Some days we cried so hard we couldn't finish our sentences. Some days we laughed at stories we hadn't told in years. Slowly, without noticing, I began to heal. Not because the pain left, but because it finally had a place to go. One afternoon she said, "You know, it's okay to write letters to the living, too." I didn't answer. But her words planted a seed in the part of me I thought was dead. On the 2nd anniversary of Marcus's passing, I sat at my kitchen table again. Same chipped mug. Same quiet house. I wrote him one more letter. Not because I needed to hold on, but because I was ready to let go. I told him I loved him in this life, the next, and whatever waits beyond. I thanked him for the years he gave me, for the lessons, for the love, for choosing me, even on my worst days. And then I folded the letter, pressed it to my heart, and placed it in a box with all the others. A box full of memories, a box full of love, a box full of the woman I used to be. I didn't send it. Some things aren't meant to be mailed. Some things are meant to be kept. I'm still healing. Grief doesn't disappear. It softens. My home doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels full of memories, of laughter, of every piece of life we built together. I still visit Evelyn. We've become each other's family in a way neither of us expected. Sometimes I still write letters. But now they're not always to Marcus. Sometimes they're to myself. Sometimes to the world. Sometimes to the future I once thought I didn't deserve. If you're listening to me right now, I want you to hear this. You can lose the person you love most in the world and still find reasons to stay alive. You can break and still be worthy of healing. Love doesn't end with death. It just changes shape. My husband may be gone, but the love he gave me still holds me up every single day. And maybe that's how we keep the people we lose close, not by clinging to the pain, but by letting their love teach us how to live again.